There I am. I'm back. How's everybody tonight? Well, it's another Monday night with bees all day. And Chris, I saw your post. Prayers out to you guys and your family and your brother's family. Uh, Sorry to hear about that. Um, but it it's not always a bad thing. So, hey, Dodd, Clay, Hallelujah, Mark, Pennsylvania, Tar Heel, Highland, Mike. Is it still cold up there, Mike? My brother said it was below zero the other day. That's why I'm asking. Um, Bees, nuts, Chris. Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry to hear about that. Um, Icy, how are you this evening? Highland Honey's on here. Uh, Parrot Farms. Jonathan, how's everybody doing? There's Dennis. Let's see, who else? Did I miss anybody? I don't think I have yet. But, oh, there's Jeremy. Yeah, I called that Dennis. Yep, everybody's here so far. There's more to come, I'm sure. So today was a heat wave here in the valley. It got up to 34 degrees for a while. So it's supposed to be warmer tomorrow. So there's feathers and flowers. Keith, how are you this evening? There's JT, and I'm sure Kathy's right there with him. Tar Heel, good to see y'all in here tonight. Glad to have you. So, like I said, the heat wave in the valley today. For those of you that ordered stuff for me for Nobby, it's all started to go out. LTL shipping has been a challenge getting somebody to pick up. There's James. Good to see you, James. So Clay said it was 40 at his place today. So, yeah, I don't doubt it. No, we do not, Chris, we don't add extra wax to our acorn frames. We leave them as they are. Unless they show signs of the wax, if they get hot, they will show the signs that the wax have run down to the bottom. Then we might rub a little bit on, but typically that's not the case. There's Flower Street. Hello, Colorado from Virginia. So, yeah, we don't really do that because it's got enough on it. And the bees will move it anyway where they want it. So, yeah. Yeah, it's been a challenge here past few days to get stuff ready to go out. It's been a challenge. Well, there's the man, the myth, the legend, Sawmill Charlie.
Hey.
Hey, how are you? Hey, Hallelujah Bee Farm.
We're doing all right. Went out.
All your girls still kicking?
Yep, I dropped a video in on a little short today. Hey, Sandy. Hey, Mike. Clay. Pastor Larry. Hey, Dodd. Keith. And there's Brian. And hey, Randy. Chris. Yeah, they're up and running. All different levels as far as the amount of bees, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
So there's JT and Kathy, I think it is.
Yeah.
And Dennis. And so anyway, got some fondant on them.
Hey, Donna.
Let's see, I'll get my paperwork here. And some of them, I had like the one out there on the end out there was a new. Well, it seemed like to me the bees are kind of down in the box. I mean, they were up underneath the fondant, but they didn't eat the bag of fondant for the last 12 days. You know, it's a lot there. So I didn't have to put anything in there. I could kind of see that the frames had quite a bit of honey in there. Hey, Dinah. And that kind of stuff. And so I guess you might say, hey, Dot, what would you say? Each, individualized as far as what the hives are going to eat, how much they're going to eat, how fast. I put a video out on the one hive today. A lot of bees up there. There have been a lot of bees every time I've went in there. I figured I'd use that hive. I had put a pound of the bee bites in there that was totally gone.
Yeah.
It had about a 2 pound of Matt's fondant in there, and I'll say maybe a quarter of a pound was left. A little bit around the rim, I guess, the edges, you might say. And so I put another bee bite in there that I had left over, and another big fondant bag in there, and then went down the line, each one of them. The biggest problem I have is the snow, which you got about 2 inches worth of ice on top. And you have to get, I got out there with the tractor today and pushed it as I got as close to the highs as I could kind of get.
Yeah.
And so, it just, you had to go up there and you had to kind of tromp down on the ice to break it so you wouldn't fall. So you could kind of walk on it without getting hurt. And so it just, I got some new pictures here. And so I wanted to change my thing, I guess you would call it. And so anyway, got all that done and got it in each hive and checked them out. And most of them, all the fondant was gone.
Yeah.
You might have some little scraps. And some of the hives that weren't as big as like the one I showed in my video, I'm going to say at least 80% of the bee bites were gone. If you had I think they're like a foot long, you might have had 3 inches on either side.
Mm-hmm.
That basically the bite was beyond the border of the cluster, I'll say, where they, the main bees were, on the middle of that strip, and then where they didn't stretch their cluster out with the, because they kept tight, they kind of let them pieces kind of hang out there. They didn't want to go out there and eat any more of them, get beyond to where they were, I guess, keeping warm and everything
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. So it was, it, and it was, let's see, I put the, I guess it was what, the 22nd was Thursday of January, which was 50 degrees that day. So, it was 11 days since it's been out there on the hive. So it lasted pretty, everything I'll say lasted pretty, pretty long and everything, which I was happy to see.
So
Yeah.
it sounds like Matt's fondant's pretty good, and it does last a while on the hive. So that's what I'm gathering from what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much, comparing a 2-pound patty of fondant that everybody else make, companies make. I'm sure it all depends on the bee population, how hungry they are, and that kind of thing. Whether it lasts 2 weeks or 7 days, or most of the small fondant patties that we had made up. I was measuring them out. They're like 2.2 or 3 ounces, something like that, or not 2 pound, 2 pound, 1 pound and 2 or 3 ounces over, and they lasted at least, I'll say, 7 to 10 days for the most part, and all that. So it's, they like it.
Yeah. Well, it's not a bad thing though.
So, and then I also think that with the bee bites on there, that gave them some more that has sugar in it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And it gives them a more food for energy, along with all the other things that are in that patty, all the beneficial things like, apis and the spirulina and those types of things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think a combination of two things, if I have a 1 pound fondant patty and I got a 1 pound bee bite patty, figure they got 2 pounds worth of food there to eat,
Right.
to get through and then also I think, most of our highs have been at 22 degrees here the last 7 to 10 days. And our evenings or night, I mean, in the mornings, I've been getting up at 7:30 and it's 8 degrees, you know, and some folks have gotten up, real early in like a negative amount.
Yep.
So I think that they cluster. I mean, at nighttime when it's down in single digits, obviously they got to be clustering. They're not really feeding heavily.
Right.
And all that. Hey, Philip, and that kind of thing. So it's, it's a interesting, I call it an experiment to see how things go.
Yep. Hey, Denny. Hey, Rob.
So I think I don't know, I'll say 34 degrees here at the very most
Yeah.
today, but behind the barn and everything, it's sort of a microclimate. It was windy up here this morning, and I got out there, I don't know, 1:30, 2 o'clock after I get done with some customers, and the wind seemed to be died down to nothing almost, which actually it kind of felt warm. It kind of felt like it was getting warmer this afternoon around the 2 to 3 o'clock area. Russell, that was let me go get my chart, Russell. I can tell you, the one hive that I videoed was a 24 queen.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I had this paper out there. I made, sat down one day this past week and I wanted a chart. Basically, what I did was Word. I put squares. Each square represents a hive. And then I had all the hives numbered. I have a total of 26 hives. And this several months ago, when it really started to get cold, I had 4 hives that went down on me, and I had 6 replacement nukes or nukes that I could use for replacement.
Yeah.
So what I did was I had them at every this year. I finally got around to putting cow tags on, and each position is numbered. So I made sure that I tagged each nuke that I put in a dead out position and what nuke it came or what original spot it came from. So all my nukes were 2025 queens. So I didn't know what nuke went where, so I went ahead and wrote it down today. So like position number 1 had a nuke from position number 22, which was a 2025 queen. And but hive number 18 is it's a June 2024 queen.
Yeah.
And it happens to be quite good. But let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6 2024 queens. Everybody else is a 25 queen. And most of those queens are June queens.
Yeah.
And where I put them in and all that. So that's what I've got, Russell. Hey, Ed. And but that's what I've come up with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least you're keeping track of everything, right?
Well, that's the main goal this year was number 1, I numbered the hive. So now I can keep track it by the hive, by the number. Number 2, I started tracking the queens to that numbered hive. And then I use color notes of it's a free app for your phone. You can either do text or text boxes. And I have a diary in there, and I like today what I did in the in the hives, and write myself notes and stuff. And then I have another one where I made a list of queens. So I had a hive number. I had when the queen was, I might have it in there. I'll pick it up here. I'll show you what I mean. I'll have like hive number 2. It was installed queen May 24th, 2025. Marked. I got it. You can, put a blue dot there. And then I have at the end of it mated. So that means it was one of my queens that I, put in there.
Yeah.
And then like hive number 3, I have wrote down overwintered queen 2024, marked yellow with a yellow dot, need to replace, and on, that kind of a thing. Number 5, that was the one that we talked about. It got mated really late this fall.
Yep.
And I installed a queen on July the 13th, 2025, marked it blue. It was mated. Queen been replaced, just started laying eggs on October the 5th, 2025. That's pretty late.
Yeah, it is.
And all that. So you have that information. I try to keep up on that information. And you know, it kind of gives you a and then I have another one here. I call it the diary. It starts out in 2019 is when I started doing this. And, you know, like the last, like January the 15th of this year, checked all the hives, put a 1 pound fondant and Ziploc bags on all the hives. And then on the 22nd, which was a Thursday, I give myself notes, 50-degree temperature window before the big snowstorm, along with sleep.
Yeah.
And I stayed in there where I put 1 pound bee bite patties on all the hives and put the mats fondant on there, and that kind of stuff. Then I put in there today, you know, today's date, and I cleared the snow and got in and did what I did today. And it's, I'll tell you, that's quite useful. You go back a year later and read that. And a lot of times you'll say, well, what did I do back in this month at that time?
Yeah.
And that helps you kind of keep yourself in line at, you know, all right, especially like mite treatments, you know, well, when did I do the mite treatment last year and the year before that? And it was in September, I knew, but was it on Labor Day weekend or was it the week after? That kind of stuff. And then I also put in there the temperatures of what, you know, I tell myself, you know, it's going to be 75 degrees for the next 4 days, or it was, you know, that was, you know, put in the diary part of it. And I do a lot of that kind of thing. Now, something I forget, it popped up on my feed yesterday or whatever. And our club up here in Baltimore, we tried Hive Tracks. I found it kind of confusing and not very simple to use. And there's a new one that popped up on my feed yesterday, and I got to looking at it and playing with it. And there's you can go up to 6 hives on a free version, and it's called APIOLY. And it's
APIOLY.
Yeah, you can APYOLY.com if you want to go on the internet and read up on it. It actually has. I sat down there and just figured it out. It's so easy. You can kind of figure it out yourself on how you want to manipulate it.
Yeah.
And then I went to the website when I got on a computer, and then you can sit there and read how to, you know, what all these little buttons mean and how you manipulate it and stuff like that. And I found it quite interesting. Now, if you want to go beyond 6 hives, you got to pay them basically $15 a year. And you set up, you know, how many apiaries you want. You go to like my one apiary, give it a name. And when you do an inspection for that day, it shows you the date automatically because you're on it on your phone. Yeah. And I kind of liked it because when you go, like, all right, say hive number 1, you want to do an inspection. All right, here's the date. It says configuration. Well, is it a mating nuke, an 8-frame hive, or a 10-frame hive? And then all you do is click on that button. Then it says the number of brood chambers, the number of supers. Is it queen right? And I got it set up yes or no. And queen color, it's got all the I didn't have to set that up. It's already in there. It's got all the different colors for the years in there that you can pick. And then I set up the age of the queen Is it a 24 queen, 25 queen, 20? You can set up a list. And then it says you can set up the number of frames of bees, frames of brood, frames of pollen, frames of honey, mite treatment. And then I put a text box in there. I just kind of say mite treatment, yes or no type of thing. Or you could put a date there. Mite treatment, I would say put a date. That's what I was going to put there. And then down below that, you've got a mite treatment type. Well, it's got a button. It's got, for me, I put in there ApriGuard, Formic Pro, and OAV. So all you got to do is just tap whatever button is whatever type you're going to do. Then it had in there automatic. It had it from the get-go: temperament, calm, semi-aggressive, hot, pest. I guess if you, like Todd, you had an ant problem with that hive, or did you have a wax moth problem, or did you have a varroa mite problem, or a southern hive beetle problem, or other. And then it asks you, it's sort of like a slider, I guess you would call it. Eggs present, queen cells present, drones present. And then, like for me, I put in there, and that's the thing, you can add to this list. I put in there fondant, and then you can actually put it in if you have a certain order of what you want to set, do in inspection, you can put it in an order that is right for you. You can customize it. So it's got a thing here. Did you put fondant on? Did you put sugar water on? Did you put pollen sub on? I put it, and this is where I customize it just to play with it. I put in there strong microbials, bee bites. I could, do a slider and say, yes, that's on there. Then it's got a note area where you can type in some, a few notes and stuff. Or actually with my phone, I can talk to it and it'll write it out for me. And then you can put in photographs of that hive, multiple photographs. I think you're allowed, and then you can put in there, you can track how much honey you harvested off of that hive, which I'm not sure how you're going to do that, because when I harvest, I just take a whole bunch of supers and go. But I found it kind of interesting. There is a monthly fee, about like $1 and something. And then there's, I read up on it on the internet. You can go to a Sideliner commercial, gives you the pro version. I guess it's important for you when you're in the commercial where distance and back and forth from apiaries and things like that, I guess, to take off your taxes.
Yep.
And that kind of stuff.
That's what it's for. Yes.
Well, anyway, that's built into the pro version, and then you can have multiple amounts of photographs, and I forget some other things. And I haven't played with it enough, but you can do grafting as far as to graft your progress with this hive.
Yep.
And I found it to be very simple. I still need to read up on it some more.
They tried to make it as easy as they could to use so more people would use it. And they tried to give you room to put as much information in there as they could so that more people would keep records. Well,
you can customize it. Like I'm doing certain things. Let's say I'm going to do bee bites, or I'm going to do fondant, or, and you can group all that kind of stuff in one, and you can slide it up and down with your finger to group it and then save it and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And that kind of thing. I found it, for what little bit I've just played with it. It's like when you went in there to set up the apiary, I said sawmill apiary, and then I said 20. How many hives? 26, and then it'll set up 26 inspections. 26 different hives, so you can inspect and all that stuff. Yep. You can also name, if somebody has names for their hives, you can put that in there along with the number of the hive and
Yep.
things like that. I found it a lot easier than some of these others. And for $14.99 a year, it's not too bad of a price.
No, it's not.
You know, for it seems to be like I said, before I'd buy it, I'd have to take and fool with it some more. Hey, Tom.
Hello.
And so that was something interesting that's kind of come across my internet service.
Yeah. So now that Tom's in here, I was hoping Brian was going to come in here too if he's still on here.
Brian Zavada?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was.
So thank you.
What was the is it Wednesday night for Brian Castle Hives?
Yeah.
Are we going to be on that show or something or what?
No, it's afterwards.
It's afterward? Okay.
Yeah. I believe so. Brian's on here.
Let me let me put it in there.
So I'm going to kind of shake everybody up tonight, something that we don't normally talk about.
That's a good thing.
So make everybody put their thinking cap on and give some feedback.
Brian will be on in a couple minutes.
Yep. I'm going to wait for Brian to get in here. And then I'll ask the question of everybody. So
PIOLY.com.
And it has to do with bee clubs. So
Hey, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I didn't take this call.
There it is there. Parrot Farms. It's my thing, right? APIOLY.com. I would suggest you go to the website, and then it goes through the different areas of the program. It explains all the control buttons and stuff, and kind of shows you. I actually originally just downloaded it to my Android phone and messed with it that way through an app thing. I can tell you this: if you were going to buy the Pro version, which is more than 6 hives, if you can use it for free as long as you're up to 6 hives only. I think it limits you on it. It explains to you all that about limit, I think, on pictures and things, but you have to go through the app store and pay for it. I've never did that myself at all. So, it was just a new tool.
Come on in here anyway, Brian. I know your brain's probably hurting, but come on in here anyway. There's Todd. How are you tonight, Todd? I saw your post on YouTube today. I looked at it. You may have some trouble coming. I don't see any evident signs right now, but I think you're going to have some coming down the road. Did you see that video, Charlie?
What?
Todd posted a video today.
Yeah.
He said, I think I have trouble. I've got some trouble brewing.
Oh, you talking about the hive with all the brood?
Yep.
Yeah, I seen that, I don't know, a night or two ago. Where was it? We were on Chit Chat or something or another. And I said, well, you got 60-degree weather. You got henbit with some pollen or something coming in out there.
Yep.
You got nectar coming in out there from someplace. And what else was it? You got all the inputs that the bees need to brood. I mean, his area is kind of like our spring.
Uh-huh.
He was saying, well, it's going to get cold down to the 50s. And I'm like, that ain't cold. I mean, they're around here, they're brooding up in the 40s, from about January or late January, February on, where we're here at the 1st of February. I guarantee you I didn't go down in there by no means, but I guarantee you there's some brood in there someplace at all.
Well, Todd, this is one case that I have to agree with DC. You should have under supered that box instead of, if you over supered it, you need to put it under.
Why is that? Under supered it with what? Open comb?
Yeah.
Why is that? They're going to put nectar in the bottom or what?
No, they'll move down one and start laying brood on their way down.
So she's going to go down instead of up?
Yep. It's a way to push them down.
It's got purple-eyed drones, Phil says. Yeah, he's got a bunch of drones. I mean, I seen the one frame, the one big frame. It was that big, deep, was full of drones.
You're going to have to start watching for queen cells too, Todd. Now he's blaming it on Matt.
Well, now I've heard some folks up here in Pennsylvania, they'll talk about putting a super of honey on the bottom.
Yep.
You ever hear that?
That brings them down to the food.
It brings them down to the food, or they move it up?
It brings them down to the food. Yep.
So that was my big adventure for today. I feel better that the fact that they weren't as lacking in food. I mean, they were getting really close. I'll put it to you that way.
Yep.
But they weren't out of food, most of them. Now, there was a lot of them there that the baggies were completely empty. But
well, Charlie, I'm going to say this. I'm proud of you, buddy. You found something that you're comfortable with taking notes and keeping notes on your hives.
Oh, yeah. As far as that program, I'm still messing with that, but I try to keep notes. It seems to help, especially the queens. I mean, you got to keep on top of the queens and how old they are. Most people don't.
Yep.
They kind of rely on seeing the queen in the hive and see what color she is. Well, most times the bees will eat paint off of a queen after a while, and then you don't know.
Yep.
Keeping notes on your queens is, I think, even more important than anything else. And but I don't know, for years, before I started messing with my phone, as far as the color note program, which is everybody out, it's called Color Notes. It's a free app that you can get for any of your phones. Yeah. I mean, I use it for grocery shopping because I got a check off list, where you want to you list, let's say, bread. Well, you click on bread when you're doing your shopping list, and it it's kind of like whited out or grayed out, and it pops up as a full black and white name. And then and then when you pick your bread up in the store, you tap it, and it puts a line across, the bread that, you already got it in your cart, that kind of a thing. So I use it for a lot of things. I keep notes on a lot of different things, like let's say changing the oil in your car and putting the date in, the mileage, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And key things about, like I always put in there, it takes a 17 millimeter wrench and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I've been using it for years. As far as a lot of times I forget to sit down and dictate what I did in the hives. But I've looked at, like you say, these different other programs, and a lot of them they're too in depth, I guess you would call it, or they don't flow like my mind flows on how, I just want to go click. I don't want to sit there and, you look at the printout sheets that people put out, how's this and how's that? And I'm like, well, I don't know what to put down there. And if you try for me, I'm not much of a speller anyway. So it's got to be check off boxes or something like that. Something that's quick. Take too much time in the hive to be fooling with all that stuff.
Right. Exactly.
But, it just, having notes and knowing what, like I said, I sat down and made up that chart here a couple days ago. Well, all I got to do is look at it and look at my hives and say, okay, we got a 25 queen here. We got this, we got that. If it's a 24 queen, well, I got that hive number in red.
Yeah.
So it pops out at me.
Right.
And, but the main thing of it is the age of the queen. I think queens have been my major problem. I think most people do not realize how important the age of the queen is to the hive.
Right.
In production.
Yep.
And I think, we watch like Ian, he talks about pinching that queen because she's not up to his standards. Well, that's actually what we need to. Some people don't know how to, a lot of people, even myself sometimes, don't know how to evaluate that queen. We get a lot of folks out there that'll say, well, it's got spotted brood like a shotgun pattern. Well, I feel that description and that type of brood pattern is a queen that's at her, it's like late in life recognition of a bad queen. That's like at the end of her, just about where she's about ready to kick off. Whereas I'm looking at, well, the brood pattern is solid, but it's starting to shrink. Oh, we only have 6 frames of brood or 4 frames of brood instead of 8 frames of brood like we had the year before.
Yeah.
Make notes of that. Those are evaluation points that you evaluate and figure out what that queen is doing or what her level of success is early on before you get in trouble.
Yep.
Till you get, let's say, late in September. Oh, I can't find a queen and I got a crap queen. We should have replaced her 4 months ago.
Yes.
And that's something that needs to be taught. That's, as far as, I know I'm fuzzy, Dennis. I don't know what this thing does not want to. That's some of the things that I've started to understand myself in the last couple of years by just
DC,
doing, figuring out it myself,
I keep forgetting this is DC has a good point there. It's not always the queen.
Can be the season
and her nutrition. Remember,
you
were talking about nutrition, and that's one of the points that I brought out was if she doesn't have proper nutrition, then it can affect her laying patterns and everything else.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey.
Well, it's like around for me, July and August is the dearth. So if you don't feed, let's say 1-to-1 or something like that, right then, and they're lacking of food, nectar sources, she'll shut down. And new beekeepers will swear, oh, I'm queenless. And if you got a Russian hive, you'll swear she's queenless because that's one of their characteristics is they will shut right down and stop laying completely.
You're right. They will.
And you have to, and I had one Russian hive one time, and I was so used to Italians just going on. It doesn't matter what's coming in. They're going to lay up the hive. I got rid of that because I just wasn't used to that characteristic. And I really didn't particularly care for that characteristic of that type of bee.
Yeah.
And Todd said about it could be hygienic behavior. Well, could be. I noticed some of that in a hive that I didn't get around and put. I didn't treat them, and they were capping and uncapping, but that hive looked pretty sad looking, brood wise, and I treated right away, and things got better. So, unless it's a hygienic bee, and all.
Right. So before we go too far down this rabbit hole, I want to ask this question and get everybody thinking and get some feedback on this. So we're going to kind of change gears here. Most of us are members of bee clubs, and most of us have been through a beginner's course with a bee club. And typically, but not all, bee clubs, when you go through the beginner's course, that's it. That's all they teach. So if you could pick one thing that you would like to see a bee club do for their members, what would it be?
That's easy. Something I've been harping on for years. You got B101, which is your beginner class. Where's B102 and where's B103 for the advanced?
Yep.
At the EMBA workshop, February 20th and 21st in St. Louis, Missouri.
I'm going to be there.
I knew this was going to happen. Yep. And that's why she's off screen.
But that was a good one. I like that. Came out on the air, out on the volume, nowhere, out of the speaker.
Yeah, out of nowhere. But seriously, if I'm talking about your local bee club, one thing that local bee club could do for its members, what would it be?
Well, it's like Ryan Peabody there says, learning yard, hands-on training. Our
That's
club
exactly what I was just going to say.
Do you want to come in here?
No.
We have that.
I'm going to stay off to the side and put my 2 cents
Then
in.
zip your mouth.
I'm going to stay here and put my 2 cents in.
She's peanut gallery in here, Bill.
You better watch it because you're going to end up sleeping in the garage.
Here, just give me a second, guys. I'll be right back, okay?
We do a field day at ours, and we ask people what they want to learn. Like I do some demos. We do splits and stuff. I bring queens to do splits with and cells and show people different ways to do things. My big gripe has been that we never have the field day as early as it should be. So we're teaching people how to do stuff that they should have already done.
Yeah,
at least down here.
All right, like right now, state of Maryland beekeepers, the Maryland State Beekeepers Association, they got a splits class, right? And it's like $50 or $60 for this class. And I'm like, really? I could show you all that in about 15 minutes. But now they're going to do a splits with a Snell Grove board. And I'm like, huh? It's like that. I mean, I don't know. There's maybe I don't know how to do. I don't know how to use the dumb thing because it's complicated as hell. And it wasn't designed for making splits to begin with, as far as I know. And they had a couple different ways. And I know I knew most of the ones that were teaching this class, and it's like, oh, we're going to make a split. We're going to make a Demery split. And I'm like, George Demery did not invent the Demery split.
No, he didn't.
He invented a vertical split versus a horizontal split. He did not want to split the hive up. That was his goal in the Demery. He did not. He called it a horizontal split, meaning you take one hive and take the box off, put it over here, and they'll start another hive. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to have a super strong hive without getting rid of the bees and splits.
Yeah.
And they're coming off of this stuff, and I'm like, and they're all EAS master beekeepers. They, paper certified, and it's like you guys don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. So Westcliff Honey said to co-op bulk purchases of consumables. Now, I can tell you from experience, it's not a bad idea, but the price and availability of consumables in today's market, prices vary. You might have to pay a little shipping, but prices vary greatly in these consumables. Now, if a bee club does it, there's a club here in the Shenandoah Valley that does it, and they have equipment left from 5 years ago that they were not able to get rid of. Now,
are we talking about woodenware? Or are we talking about something else?
Woodenware, consumables, woodenware, frames, foundation.
Our club does mites, and we actually, what do you call it? Subsidize it.
Yeah.
We do bulk purchasing of. Sometimes we were doing sugar, we were doing fondant. We will do bulk purchases of bottles from Gamber, plastic or glass.
And that's another good
idea. Those are more of a wash, except for our miticides. We don't really make any money. It's more of a convenience where we might get a price break by buying large quantities. Stuff like that.
Okay. Where I was going with this, and I hope Rob's still on here as well, is education. That's why I wanted Brian in here too. Is education of the beekeepers. Do you think that a club would be better serving their members with continuing education, or with, like Charlie said, subsidizing treatments, other consumables, glass, plastic? What's your thoughts?
I think Charlie's idea is a good idea, and there's no discredit to that whatsoever. But I'm going to preach, and I'm going to stand on the hill of education all day, every day. And I say that because think of it like this. Okay, Charlie, if you would have known when you started beekeeping the information that you know now, would that have saved you money in the long run?
I always bitch and complain the fact of why did it take me 15 years to figure this out? That's like this queen thing. Okay, I've been doing my own. The light has kind of come on in my own head about queens, and it's like, well, I thought I was in 2 years ago. I put fresh queens in, and I figured, man, if I get 500 pounds of honey, I'll be lucky. I got over 1,000 pounds, and I'm like, how did that happen? Well, then here come, I can't think of his name, the commercial guy out of Kentucky. He goes
Williams.
Kent Williams.
No, he's on our chat occasionally. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head. But anyway, he's got a couple thousand hives, and he goes between Kentucky and Florida all the time. And he said, oh, yeah. He says, young girls make you more honey. And then you get a hold of Troy Hall. Oh, yeah, I requeen in the Middle Atlantic states every 2 years.
Yeah.
And all this information I started getting by chance, I guess. And then I started watching my queens the next year. They were saying, well, the second year. And then I go to a conference and say to the Maryland conference, and the girl from at Texas at A&M said, oh, yeah, after the first year, your queen's going to lose 40% of her laying power. And then I seen that this year. She wasn't filling the box up like she did the year before in the brood chamber to make all to force the rest of the bees to make them push all the honey upstairs into the honey supers.
Yeah.
So I had all this information here, and it's like, why didn't we teach about or talk about this kind of information 5 years ago, 8 years ago? But then I guess sometimes when you, depending on what stage you are in your beekeeping world, depends on what's important to you at that time. Or if you talked about all this queen stuff, did it fly right over top of your head? Because you're not at that level yet. And I don't know how to get people to that level. I got a situation right now. Next month, we're going to have a girl from Minnesota College, PhD. She's going to talk about queen management. All the stuff that I've been talking about here lately, as of late. The one vice president, she found this person. I said, I didn't know there was anybody out there that would talk about this. And the president took my place over my club this year. It's like, well, Charlie over here, this is going to be his level. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's everybody's level. This is what you all should be learning, but they can't grasp the importance of it. And I don't know how you take a 3-year-old beekeeper or a 4-year-old beekeeper and impress upon them this is important, people. You need to really study this and learn this. I don't know how that education thing level. Maybe Brian from Flower Street, as an educator himself, I know, if you have a kid that's in first grade and a kid in sixth grade and a kid in 10th or 11th grade, their comprehension level, I think, of their brain is grown to where they can comprehend better as they get older. And I don't know whether that applies to beekeepers or what. How do you, and then you have the attitude, well, all I want to do is keep 4 hives. And I'm like, are you a beehaver or are you a beekeeper?
Right. I guess my point is this. I agree with Tom. I'll live and die on education, right? Because
on education, as long as I can apply it to my hives to make my hives better.
Uneducated beekeeper is doing more harm than he is good, right? When you go through your typical bee club that has a beginner's program, you come in, you go through the basic beekeeping course, you buy bees, you buy equipment, and you get a mentor for a year. After that year, mentor disappears. There's no follow-on education to educate that beekeeper for his second year, his third year, his fourth year, his fifth year, and even maybe 6 or 7 years, to bring them along to where they can get into a master beekeeper program or journeyman beekeeper program or something like that.
All right there. Look at DC's comment right there.
I saw it.
That's
Nobody's looking down on anybody, DC. We're not doing that.
No, that mentality right there is what I'm talking about. The beekeeper that has that mentality doesn't want to excel with their bees.
Right. So I'm in 2 different clubs down here that I go to regularly. One's right by my house, and it's a much larger club. and one of them I drive almost an hour to actually drive over an hour to get
Where
to.
are you at, Eddie?
Southeast Louisiana.
Okay.
So the club I go to where people want to have a lot of information, it's got Joey Rawls in it and Mike Berry, Dirt Rooster's there a lot. That club, people want to learn a lot of stuff. The one that's right by my house, there are 3 or 4 people that are like me and they want to learn as much as possible. But most of them, I mean, there's beekeepers that have been beekeepers 15, 20 years and
there's still
only had like
2-year
1 or 2
beekeepers,
successful
aren't they,
years
Eddie?
ever.
There's still 2-year beekeepers, and they've been at it for 10 years.
Yeah. And I've only been a beekeeper for 4 years. But I mean, I started grafting my first year. I dove in really hard and tried to learn everything I possibly could. And I tried so hard in the beginning to find a mentor and somebody. I thought, I'll come and help. Nobody would take me up on it. I just couldn't get it to happen. So I learned most of the stuff I learned on YouTube and trial and error. I messed up a lot. I mean, I'm one of those people that really dives in hard. So I'm only a 4-year beekeeper, but I probably know more than most 4-year beekeepers. But I got a lot to learn. Don't get me wrong, you know. But a lot of people just don't want to learn. And when I finally found a couple of people that I thought were going to be mentors that first year, I go to help them, and I'm teaching them instead of the other way around. And it's fine. I mean, I've become really good friends with them and stuff.
Yeah. Well,
but it's just crazy to me that there are so many beekeepers that have had been a beekeeper for a decade and don't know very much at all and don't really
they don't know any more than what they did after the second year of beekeeping. And DC, don't be sorry. I'm just pointing out that mental concept of what you stated there is just what I can't see your name. Eddie, you described what I'm trying to get at. It's like, okay, you have the drive, the drive that, hey, I want to learn and I'm going to travel an hour and a half one way to gather information. Just like me, I belong to 4 to 5 clubs. One club's at least an hour and a half away because I joined that years ago because they were cutting edge. They actually had an apiary in their house. They were actually raising queens and queen cells to sell amongst the club and stuff. And it was unheard of around the clubs that I belong, that are close by. But what is it? That's the $64 question. How do you get a person motivated that really wants to better themselves as a beekeeper?
It's really hard. I give out queens to people locally. I'm part of a breeding program with the USDA Bee Lab down here, trying to get this VSH pole line stuff out there, and I give them for free. And you would not believe how many people don't even want to take me up on it. It's nuts.
They don't.
So my point through this whole thing isn't to put anybody down or make anybody feel bad or anything like that. But Russell's comment, a little bit of education, whether you have 2 hives or you have 1,000 hives, goes a long ways. It'll make you a better beekeeper
if you can get them to go to class.
If you want the education, a little bit of education goes a long way. And whether you have 2 hives or 1,000 hives, nobody's saying that this education is telling you have to grow bigger. You don't. You stay at the level that you're comfortable with. But just to understand that the more education you have about bees and what they're going to do and how they're going to do certain things, you're a better beekeeper for it.
Well, you got Russell's.
And we're not saying that anybody in here is a bad beekeeper. That's not the point of this.
Thomas.
So it is.
Well, I mean, we're not talking about people that want to get big or anything like that. We're talking about just getting them. You can have 4 hives, but you can be a whatever the word is, a smart beekeeper that knows how to do stuff, to keep them from swarming, to keep them from whatever, But it's just like Eddie says. Eddie had to drive and wants to learn more. Not the fact that you don't want 2,000 hives. I don't want to. I'm going down. I'm downsizing, not upsizing. But I want, my goal in my bees is I got 18 production hives and I got 8 nukes for my backup. And I want them 18 production hives to be more or less the same as far as strength and productivity and stuff like that. That's my goal. I don't want 4 of my hives dying through the wintertime. Or, there's issues throughout the whole summer season. I'm always putting out spot fires, as I call it. This hive's sick. This hive has this problem. I don't want all that. I want to be able to try to sort of keep them all the same and all. But, anyway.
My thought on this is I don't think DC's wrong when he says that, because I understand people. And, Charlie, I don't think it matters what hobby it is. It can be beekeeping. It can be anything. You choose, you pick whatever the topic, whatever the hobby is or whatever. You're going to have people that always apply themselves, and you're going to have people that will barely put forth the effort, and you'll have people that'll put forth just enough effort to get by. And that's fine. It really doesn't. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Most of the people that you see coming into this chat right now on a weekly basis, those are the people that really want to succeed, and they listen intently and share back and forth and try to understand and learn. But I think that's a really small percentage when you look at the overall hobbyist level beekeepers. Then you can get somebody that might have, I don't know, a large enough investment into it, maybe 20 hives, maybe 50 hives, maybe 100, maybe 200. And they are not going to tolerate loss. So they will continue to push and educate themselves in every aspect they can. If they don't find it at their local club, maybe they go to their state club. If their state club is not any good, maybe they go to a couple of great YouTube personalities like you, Charlie. Or maybe they go to larger conferences or listen in on some of the research type stuff, some of the really upper echelon type education. But at the end of the day, I don't really see it as a problem either way. Now, the only time that I would ever say that I really would take any sort of issue with it whatsoever is if they have a bee yard next to mine. And at that point in time, you're going to see that I'm going to get very giving. I'm going to be like, here, I got some queens for you. Let me see how I can help you out kind of deal. You know what I mean? That's what I would do. And then when I think about it from the club side is what Bill was asking about, education and such. I would still stand on the firm ground of education, but as club leaders, and many of us either are in that position or have been in that position, I think that the people that we're helping to educate within the club are going to get out of it what we put into it. Meaning, regardless of whatever the topic is, you will always get out of something the amount of effort that you put in. There was a young man that I know that was trying to start a coffee trailer, and he said, yeah, the coffee trailer's not doing any good. I said, how much effort are you putting in? Oh, well, I'm doing this, and the other. And I'm like, you're not trying hard enough. Well, what do you mean? And I said, well, don't accept failure. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, it's not easy doing something on your own, but don't accept failure. Keep pushing and push harder. The areas that you feel like you're missing, figure out what the issue is, figure out what the problem is, and push harder in those areas. So it really is definitely a personality trait when you really get down to it. Yeah. It's a person that'll either hyper focus on things or a person that just is like, whatever. I'll buy more bees. But in my experience, I would say that the people who don't put forth much effort and are just what Charlie says is like bee havers, they're typically only bee havers for a short time because they'll burn themselves out or they'll burn out their pocketbook. And at the end of the day, they might move on to something else. My personality won't let me do that. I really hyper focus on things intently, and I feel like I have to master them. And I've said this before on these chats too. And I'm like, beekeeping is something that I understand and know that I will never master. And I probably would never give it up is my thought, unless something catastrophic happened or whatever. But I just would keep pushing to try to better myself through and through. So, yeah, I would just say as educators, we need to do our best to create as much excitement within the education, try to push people to be there. And that usually helps. But at the end of the day, the people who are in it half-heartedly will find themselves doing something else probably within a few years.
Yeah. I think if we were 45 years earlier, we wouldn't even have this discussion because beekeeping was simple, right? Anything pre-varroa mites, there wasn't we didn't have colony loss. It was, whatever survived the winter, you throw supers on, you split your colonies, pick your honeys off, maybe split them again. And that was, maybe feed them a little for the winter. And, life was good. But once Varroa hit, it's not just your backyard beekeepers that have to learn, right? The commercial guys are going back to school because when that time hit, a great percentage of commercial beekeepers got out of beekeeping because they couldn't figure it out. That's why Brett 80 got so big, is he was buying out everybody else that was getting out. He was addicted to it and figured it out, and he bought everybody else out. Now he's probably the biggest guy in the whole world when it comes to beekeeping. And so I think it's a lot of, some people don't have the time or the finances to dedicate to learn it all. And we're foolish to think that we've even learned all. Like Tom says, we're always learning, continuing to learn, because why? The industry in general is always changing. We think, oh, we got this whip, we got Apivar, we're good. We just treat one time and we're good. And all of a sudden we find out, oh, okay, Apivar doesn't work anymore. Well, now we do this, and we're figuring out, okay, well, this will work. It's a silver bullet, and it doesn't work. And all of a sudden, oh, now we're going to do OA, and OA is wonderful. And, if you're at Nobby, you hear these guys saying, now you got to treat 3 times a year. And so a lot of people are not going to invest that kind of time and energy into it. It's just not. They do it because, maybe it was something that fascinated them for a little while, and they got in, they tried it. I can tell you, I bought a gym membership one time, paid for it for a year, and went to the gym twice. So
Seriously?
What's that say? But for those of us who depend on it, you either get smarter, or we're just going to cost you a lot. It's just a bad business practice to lose money year after year, and you got to figure it out. And then there's some of us that, what I'm going to call the general beekeeping, that's not enough. Charlie may never do II work. May never go to master beekeeping school, worry about that kind of stuff. But Bill does.
See, I'm an HOS team master beekeeper already.
If I show people my library of just beekeeping books, they'd be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you have that many!" And the vast majority of it repeats itself. It really does. And but if I walk away with one new truth or something different or a better understanding of something, I'm all for it. But Bill's reading scientific letters, and you go and you're looking for that new cutting edge of information that's going to make you that better beekeeper. But the guy that has 1 or 2 colonies, he's not. So what he's hoping to do is show up at club level and glean from Bill, who spent 3-4 hours on the road, motel room, registration costs to go hear a speaker speak. And they just want Bill to come back and say, just tell me what to do, Bill.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Just tell me what to do.
Tell me what to do and how to do it, and I'll go do it.
And I'll do it, and that's it. But
Tom has you talked about that in one of your shows that the speaker talked about that.
Oh, I loved it. That happened to us, Rob. There was he was a researcher. He's a molecular biologist. His name is Jim Masucci. He was one of the developers on the all the information and field trials for the Neuro product. here out of St. Louis. He's retired now and runs, 250 colony operation. Him and I do a lot of collabs together. Great guy. Very much a scientific type beekeeper. Always questioning things, always questioning the scientific research that comes out. Sure. And has given me some good perspectives on those things. But I had him given a presentation, I think it was last year actually, on basically Varroa. And obviously it's always the one thing that we always get sick of talking about and hearing about, but it's one thing that really is what's causing us to lose our bees, right? So we have to better understand that and better understand the practices and the trade-offs for every treatment that you use, whether it's a mechanical, whether it's a chemical, whatever it might be. And I watched him go down the line. First, he talked about the biology of the mite and the relationship to the host. And then he talks about a bit of a mechanical and some of the IPM methods, but then he goes in some of the treatment options and lists the pros and cons of them, how to use them, how he uses them. And then he says, okay, he says, for everybody that I've given you all the tools that you needed here to make a better educated understanding and decision about how to do this. But for anybody that just likes to be told what to do, here's what you do. And my head popped up like this. And I immediately looked at the crowd. And that's what I was looking for. And I'll tell you what, Rob, I will never forget this as long as I live. All I seen was hands going to notebooks and phones going to the slideshows. And I'm like, oh my gosh, people, did you just not listen to the last 30 minutes of the presentation that he gave you? He gave you every tool that you possibly would have needed to make educated and informed decisions, yet you all just want to be told what to do. But that goes back to what we were talking about here, Charlie. That is the mentality of some people. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying it is what it is. Some people want to utilize this as a hobby and nothing more. They want it to as like a place to blow off steam. They don't want to dive into the books. They don't want to pour themselves into it. And again, that's fine. They're not going to get out of it the same thing that you and I will as far as success and all the fun stories that we get with that. But if they're pulling away from it, what they were looking for to begin with, which is just a way to maybe blow off a little bit of steam, blow a little bit of money, whatever it might be, then they may have accomplished their goal. I don't know. But I don't know. I always thought that was really funny watching the audience do that. And I just thought, it kind of made me understand or helped me understand better what, not all, but some of the backyard beekeepers are looking for. They want to be told what to do. And that's that.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to agree with Tom wholeheartedly. And yeah, there are a lot of beekeepers out here that once they go through a beginner's class or they go through that initial class with the bee club, they're like, I want to know more.
I think that's a very small percentage of them, unfortunately, though.
I don't know. We've got beekeepers in our bee club here locally that you've got one or two of them that, okay, I'll just do what my mentor told me to do, which is fine. They get them through that first year and they're fine after that. And it's rinse and repeat, right? And then you get a percentage of them that want more information. They want to keep learning. They want to advance their knowledge. There's quite a few of them like that here in the Valley that want to advance their knowledge, but the education's not there. Because
that's my biggest problem is like, all right, I'm going at the EMBA. Why am I going after? Well, first is, I mean, we're going to meet, it's kind of like a mini Nobby where I get to meet all my friends on the chat here in person, but I'm striving to find a place for knowledge and more so, hands-on knowledge, I guess you would call it, as far as something I can take back to using my apiary to keep it up and running. You can't find it. We can't. I mean, what the people that are in this chat right now, we're the minority when it comes to the average beekeeper and every club out there. I ain't found a club yet that's all that wonderful anymore. They're all rinse and repeat beginner, and they cater to one group, beginner beekeepers. That's it. That's as far as they're going to take it.
Well, JW made a good comment earlier here. Let me find it again.
At least around my area. I'll put it to you that way.
Yep. JW made this comment, And I understand why he said it. And part of it I do agree with. Yeah, we do take beekeeping seriously. Um, and we're the ones that are chasing the knowledge. So we can bring it back to everybody else and say, hey, this is what we've learned, and you might want to try it. It may work better for you, something that you're doing, it may make it better. And that's why we're here. We're here to pass this knowledge on to everybody. And we're not saying that anybody's a bad beekeeper or nobody knows what they're doing or anything like that. We're just trying to help pass knowledge to everybody.
Jeremy Davidson has a good comment up here. He says, I'm a first year and not trying to be a master beekeeper, but a responsible beekeeper, which I think is actually a really good statement. He doesn't want to be a master beekeeper. He just wants to be a decent
one. Let me ask you this. What's a master
that's
beekeeper?
Pretty noble.
What's a master
pass
beekeeper?
a test.
You know, I mean, they call the EAS master beekeeper. They might be a certified beekeeper, but they're no master. There's no such thing as a master beekeeper.
That's true, because you're always learning.
That's right.
Well, what's the goal of the whole thing is to keep your bees alive year after year, right? Mm-hmm. So
and produce and have, you know, for me, I want some production out of them to make some money.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're keeping them alive, you're going to produce something. I mean, the environment does an awful lot with that. You know, you end up like last year and had the drought that we had here in Pennsylvania. You know, everybody on the whole East Coast suffered last year when it comes to honey production. So, I mean, that's a give me based on, you know, like I say, the environment you're in. But you know, dead hives produce no honey.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, you know, if you're someone and you only ever want to run 2-3 hives and your hives die year after year after year, I agree with Tom. Then you need to figure that out, because what happens if they don't figure it out? They just give it up, sell their equipment, give it away, you know, whatever, pack it in the shed to the wax moths, chew it all up, and then it gets burned. But I mean, in my business and probably Bill's business, and maybe we shouldn't even say it here, we call those good customers, right? We sell an awful lot of packages and nukes to people who habitually lose their hives year after year after year.
Well, there was a president of a well-known club here in the Valley that kept bees for 30 years. Every spring, he would buy 5 nukes. For 30 years, he never got any of his hives through the winter. Never.
I bet he was a EA master beekeeper too on top of it.
Not going to go there.
Charlie, are you stirring a pot right now?
Yes, he is. And he's stirring a...
I guess what it's like.
I'm not going to say it here. I'll say it in a little bit. Put it that way.
But there was a beekeeper in another county over, and he's certified master beekeeper. And every time you turn around, he blamed all his dead outs, pesticide, every year after year after year.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, maybe you need to move your hives. If that's, you know, where are they at? If they're next to a field or something. But it was for him, it was an scapegoat because he doesn't know how to keep his hives. You know, I don't know. It's just one thing. And I know that Kent Williams will be out there. And I took a grafting class back down in Knoxville in 2019 with him. Lady asked him, well, you're a master beekeeper. And he said, lady, he said, that was just one day that I knew the answers to 4 different tests. That's all. And that's the truth. It's if you can read and remember and recite and do the paperwork. Oh, you're checked off as a master beekeeper. Well, that's doesn't mean whether you can keep your bees alive or not.
Right.
Now he can. You talk about a master beekeeper. In my book, that guy's a master beekeeper. Every time you listen to that guy, you'll come up with more nuggets of information you never thought about.
I feel like I pick up something every time I hear him talk. The reason I jumped on here tonight, I don't usually jump on. I just kind of stay in the
Well,
chat. But
we like new people coming on, Eddie.
Yeah.
I kind of had a thought. So I'm trying to do this breeding program, right? And I'm trying to be real strict with it. I'm do Harbo assays and stuff, and I'm not treatment free or anything, but my breeders don't get treated. And stuff that get high white mite washes, they're out the breeding program, and I treat them. And I was planning on come spring. I've got drone comb in all my hives, right? I was going to pull the drone comb out of everything that didn't do well, that I had to treat. Everything that got treated, I'm pulling the drone comb. I'm going to freeze it because I didn't want those genetics out there. But then today, I just started thinking those drones don't necessarily have the bad traits that hive has. They have the traits of the queen that I grafted from. And if that queen was a 4 on the Harbo assay, then those drones probably have good genetics. So am I screwing up by freezing that stuff, or should I let it go out in the environment?
I'm gonna let Rob answer this question because he's into
Yeah.
genetics
So
deeper than I am.
so I guess I got lost in your explanation. So if you're pulling that colony out of the program because it has high mite counts, then the mother of that drone, they do have that DNA in them. So that is the contributing part because they're gonna match up to her DNA. So if she's a dud when it comes to mite suppression, so are those drones.
But couldn't she be a dud because of what she mated with? And her drones should be more in line with her mother, wouldn't
Well,
is that
no,
right?
well, no, you're right. Well, so she is a byproduct of what she mated with, but her drones are an absolute mate to her.
Right.
So you don't want to mate with bad drones. You want to mate with drones from good colonies. So if you have some that have real high um, essays when it comes to counting and mite suppression, those are the ones. So take half of the ones that do well, and you're going to graft from half, and then you're going to use your drones from the other half and put that in your mating yards. You follow me? You're going to move
Yeah,
those.
yeah. I've got
It's
maybe
kind of
a
like
couple miles
it's like a
north.
clock. Yeah, it's like a clock. You want to put your virgins in the center, and then you want to put the other ones at the numbers a half
Right.
mile out,
Yeah,
and that way,
I
yeah,
was just thinking I might have been messing up with the pulling the drones from the ones I treated because I was thinking that drone didn't necessarily get the bad. I guess the sperm. Uh, the drones only had the stuff from the mother colony that I grafted from the year before that scored a Harbo 4. And I was thinking, well, maybe those genes are okay still.
yeah.
But
No, they're
then,
going to be a
so I do need to go
byproduct.
ahead and pull them probably.
Yeah, they're going to be a byproduct of her. Now you could, I would wait until you're going to start seeing purple eyed. Go ahead, and let them lay them up, but don't let them hatch. Keep an eye on
Right.
them,
Yeah.
and then
I'm
pull
going to be
them.
capped. Just I don't want them to
Right,
come
and
out.
and at that point, you're going to use them, as a mite treatment. So any mites that you have early in the spring, they're going to be in that drone comb. So pull that, freeze that, and then what I would do is I would put that drone comb into your stuff that has your good Harbo numbers, and just flood the area, you know, in the early spring with that, and get as many drones from your best colonies out there, flooding the area
No,
with
I've got
good.
drone comb in almost everything. Not quite
Yeah,
everything, but about 80 hives worth. We've got drone comb. I'm trying to get in all of them.
yeah.
Well,
It's
part
pricey.
of your statement, Eddie, uh, about the drones that came out of the low mite count hives, they probably have for their side of the genetic is probably better than most.
Hmm.
So that part of your line of thinking is correct. I would definitely be using those drones to breed with than instead of the ones that came out of hives with high mite counts.
Okay. So I was also thinking. So I get a lot of cells from the B Lab, and some of their stuff doesn't end up scoring a 4 in the harbor assay, but those, I mean, almost they get like 80% 3s and 4s in Baton Rouge, as far as all their colonies. So I was figuring that the drones from those colonies, even if they didn't score 4 in the harbor assay, they might still be good drones. But I'm not 100% sure on that either. That make any sense?
It did. When you get, Rob may agree or disagree with this statement, but when you get queen cells from the B Lab in Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what their genetics are.
No, I mean I know they come from their breeders that are instrumentally inseminated.
Right. But you have no idea what their genetics are. Now,
And she's going to lose 50% as soon as she mates with yours.
Yes.
Right.
And that is the big thing you need to keep in mind. If you're shooting for Varroa hygienic tendencies, then you have to remember that those tendencies aren't passed from queen to daughter. They lose a huge amount of that tendency from queen to daughter. Okay?
Right.
The sensitivity, the Varroa sensitivity is lost. So if you want to keep that Varroa sensitivity in your lines, then instead of breeding to try to keep it, then you would need to go back to whoever you got your queens from originally, the breeder, and say, I want those queens back again. I want those genetics back again. And I'm going to stay with those genetics. And then that way, when you create new hives or splits, you have those same level of Varroa sensitivity in those new hives as well.
Right. Well, I add a bunch from the B Lab each year, but I only graft from the stuff that scored a 4 in a harbor assay of my stuff. Now, all of their stuff doesn't come out to be that great. I'd say less than half of it, honestly. But I mean, I've got a good 20, probably 15 to 20% of my stock scores perfect on the harbor assay. But each year, it's still only like 20% of the stock. I'm hoping that will go up. It should.
But are you replacing? Are you replacing your low assays with this new, or you're letting those queens live? You know,
I'll replace them.
Yeah,
I'll replace them.
Yeah, because you want to keep taking the bottom feeders out of the equation because you don't want them mating with those virgins that you're getting.
Right. So I'm going to pull all the I'll pull the drone comb in spring, and then once I've made batches of queens and I got enough queens left over, all the ones that got treated get replaced. And the idea is in the long term that the treatments probably won't go away, but they should get less and less. I don't think they'll ever go away because I'm not just going to let everything die off. If it needs to be treated, I'm trying to stick with organic treatments, but I am going to treat. I'm too small and trying to grow. I can't afford to just let them fizzle,
No, I mean Randy Oliver does the same thing. He moves them to a different out yard so they can't mate. You know what I'm saying, with his virgins. You know, he keeps his mating yard in a situation that they're only going to mate with what he wants them to mate with. You know, any bad stock is not going to be in that mating yard.
The tough thing for me is I've got beekeepers around me that I cannot get to take my queens. It's driving me crazy. Some of them will, but some of them won't. So all I can do is slowly keep flooding with drones of my genetics, and hopefully I kind of slowly change their stuff by doing that. I just don't understand why people won't take the free stuff. They'd rather do walkaway splits than take a queen cell from me because they've been doing it for so long. Oh, this works for me. I just don't understand that.
Eddie, how many colonies do you have in the area?
Look, altogether, just right there in my breeding yard.
Yeah,
I'm just a little over 100 colonies. In my mating yard, right now, there's probably 30 to 40 colonies there. And then I've got out yards with only 10 colonies each in 5 different directions, about 1.5 to 2 miles away. I need to boost up those yards, but I'm trying to grow. You know, I'm only in year 4, so equipment is rough. Like actually on Friday, I got 5 skids coming. Beekeeping gets expensive.
yeah, that it does.
Is Michael in here? 21 Bees?
I don't think so.
I was going to say, because he could tell you how many cells are on the side of a drone come. I counted at one time. I'm thinking it's good night. Is it 5,000?
I don't know.
It's a lot.
I've never counted it.
Yeah, it's an awful
Are you talking
lot.
about on one frame or just one side?
One total frame, both sides. Google that for me. A drone comb, a deep. But
a deep drone comb?
Yeah, one deep drone comb. Because if you do so, and I'm in the same position, right? I have colonies all around me. I'm just covered up with beekeepers. But when you start doing the math and begin to say, okay, if I have this breeder yard, I'm going to breed in, and if I can put 10 colonies, right, and within a half a mile radius of that mating yard, and you multiply that times those 10 colonies times the 10 drone combs, and some of mine I'll put 2 in because it can sustain 2. How many drones are we putting in the sky?
One side of a drone comb has 3,000 to 3,500 cells on one.
Okay, let's use 3,500.
7,000 per frame.
That's 7,000.
No, one side of it.
Yeah, so both sides would be 7,000.
Yeah,
right.
7,000
times 10 colonies. Now we're talking 70,000 drones that we're putting in the air. Yeah. And she only
I put a comb in each box, and most of them are double deep. So there's actually 2 frames, and they fill most of it.
Right, but what I'm saying is, so just off of 10 colonies, if you just did it off of your best of your best, and you did it off of that, you're putting 70,000 drones in the sky around your mating yard. She only needs to mate with 20 to be considered a really good queen out of 70,000. Timing's everything. Like, you need to know when they're going to mate, and that's that big 40-day window between when the egg is laid for the drone versus when the egg is laid for the queen, or when you make that graft, that big window there, so that they're sexually mature or in their prime. And at that point, it doesn't matter what the other colonies are doing, even if they're putting naturally selected drones in the air. You know, you're targeting that your queens are going to get mated primarily off of the drones you want them to get mated off of. So it takes a lot of that other stuff out because either going to be too old or too young. So, you know, timing and location. So if you could, you know, like I say, you just get 10 individual colonies, and, you know, ask a neighbor, ask someone, say, hey, could I put a colony here just for a short period of time in the spring, and then move it back, and just surround yourself with that. You can really close that mating circle down and almost assure that most of your queens are going to get mated with the drones that you want them to get mated with. And the other thing is, you know, even if they get mated with 20, she dispels 95% of the semen that she actually receives. Only like 5%. I don't even know if it's 5% of the semen that she receives even enters into the spermatheca. Rest of it she discharges. So I mean, she gets a mixture, but the fact that you can really close that window down by that, and then like say if you have stuff that's not good, I would never give them extra drone comb unless you're going to use it, for calling out mites. But if you're putting 70,000 drones in the sky, and the other ones are only putting naturally drone comb that she already has in there, half sheet here or some over in a corner, whatever, you're really stacking the deck in your favor. Like you could really up your game, and that percentage that you're saying is you're seeing 25 to 30% on your Harbo scores, and it doesn't seem like it's changing much from year to year. I think you're going to see a significant difference if you stack the deck in your favor. You will see that those numbers should get better and better.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to keep the drone comb and everything though. Just I guess I am going to go with the original plan and cull the ones that didn't score well. Just
Right.
Stop.
Yeah, I'd pull the
Stop
ones
them from putting bad stuff out there.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Don't put bad out there because you don't need that out there. I'm not saying kill those queens. I mean, yeah, use them for honey production, use them for whatever, treat them, keep them healthy, but I would not let them be used for mating if you can help it, by giving them extra drone comb. That you're increasing the chances that brand new queen that came, that is supposed to be fantastic stock, that she could get mated with just bad genes off of some drones. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the insight. I didn't mean to hijack y'all's talk tonight.
No. Good. Like Bill said, this is what this is for, right? Education. So I tell you something you want to look at if you get a chance. Google this. There's some great videos out there. Google queen relativity to her offspring, and it's amazing because if you look at that, boy, I wish I get a chance, maybe I'll go on here and post a link. There's one guy, and he has a fantastic video, and he will show you like the relativity of a female who gets mated versus just a female that's laid by the queen, and what percentage of the genes is carried by that queen mother. I tell you what, once you understand that and see that and it's explained to you, it'll help you understand that whole drone concept of how important that drone is, because as opposed to all the other bees in that colony. A lot of people say that relativity works against the colony because in some cases, you get some rogue workers that want to lay eggs because they think their eggs are more important than the colony, but and they kind of try to explain that away. But I don't worry about that as much as I look at the whole relativity of, if I'm going to do some II work and I want to find the drones and things like that, like the difference in that whole thing. The other thing you might want to look at is Robin. I don't know when she's doing it, but it should be coming up here soon. But she's taking applicants. Robin Underwood at Penn State University has a thing just on drones. It's called Deeper Understanding of Drone Education. And you could Google that. It's free. And it goes for about 7-8 months. And they meet every other week and talking about drones and important drones and mating.
They meet online or they meet in person?
Online.
Oh, okay.
Via Zoom. I think she can take 250. Yeah. But
in the middle of the day or something?
During the day.
Yeah, they do meet in the middle of the day. Typically it was Tuesdays, but everything's recorded so you can go on and look at it and watch it at night. There's some homework assignments and things that you can do, but you work, you got 2 weeks to do whatever. It's read this, read that, and then answer some questions. But it's free. I mean,
yeah,
the guy that does the work's the guy that's going to do the learning. So the more you try to stay up to date with the class, the better off that you're going to do. At some point, they do a in-person thing for DCA, locating some DCAs, and I didn't go up to Penn State for that. She actually came down to a club and did the same thing a couple weeks later. It was closer for me, and I actually went there, and we located a DCA that way. But yeah, it helps you, like I say, have a better understanding, and that's part of that dude class is that relativity of the relationship between a queen and her daughters and a queen and the drones and that whole mating thing. So, but yeah,
I will definitely look into it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you somebody else who actually does a really good job on DCAs is oh my gosh, now I'm gonna have a mind blank.
Come on, Melissa, tell me the answer to that question.
What?
Ask your wife; she knows.
Hey, Rob, I'm purposely not going to ask her, okay? We don't want her to answer that. What'd you say? Julia Mahood. Julia Mahood is actually the president of the Georgia State Beekeepers Association. Really, really fun lady to talk with, really intelligent. And she has an amazing presentation that she gives on drones and specifically DCAs. She'll actually come out to your area and if it's conducive and try to map out DCAs. She does it with an actual UAV or a little drone. And she has a video online of how to do it. I think look up, I think it's called mapmydca.com or something like that. Let me see if I can find it and I'll tell y'all. Mapmydca.com. So everybody can check that out. That's something that's fun. Particularly if you're breeding, this can help you understand where the DCAs might be at. I've never actually seen any. I've never actually looked for any, but I always thought the idea was really cool.
And they're the same place year after year. They don't know why, but they have proven that once you actually locate a DCA, you can come back 10 years later, and that DCA will be in the exact same location.
That's pretty cool.
Crazy to me. I don't understand it.
What are you eating, Charlie? Oh, like popcorn.
Ice cream.
And you didn't bring me any. I'm going to tell you what.
20 degrees below zero, and Charlie's eating ice cream.
So Rob, I know where there's 2 DCAs out here local to me.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
There's 2 local bars down there.
Yep, that's it. 2 local bars. Yep. One of them's called the Spring House, and the other one's on the other end of town.
Oh, my.
Oh, Bill, I'll tell you what. Trying to have a serious conversation on here, and you're just cutting up.
Digressing.
I like
Might
it.
have been the chick house down there.
Somebody's got to.
Hey, Charlie.
I got a chicken house right here on the farm, man. You're not far from it, Charlie.
Hey, I love fried chicken. Absolutely. Hey,
say,
Charlie, did you? So Dodd was asking, and I seen you comment back, and I have to know this because so did you get a bill from?
I have Easy Pass.
So hold on, through what state? Indiana or
Easy Pass
Kentucky? Because we were in both.
Easy Pass is a multi-state.
Yeah.
I know, but I know, but where was the toll at?
When you cross that bridge to go over to Indiana.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It said toll. I thought it was I thought it was where you went off and going to Cincinnati or someplace like that. I thought that was the toll road. But when you went across that there fancy bridge, it was $2, and I'm going to say $2.85 north and $2.85 south.
Yep.
And it said IN, and I looked it up. And it came up if you look that bridge up on the internet, it'll say, it's a toll bridge.
Okay. So
Mhm.
he asked me about it, but I'm thinking about it. I'm like, no, I never seen any tolls. And I'm like, wait a minute, where was it? He said on the way back from Hibachi. And I'm like,
No, he
oh,
got
wait, we were riding with Philip and Noah. He asked about us riding. I'm like, yeah, sure, that's fine. So we piled in his car and went over there. So that's why we didn't see it, because we rode with him. So he probably would have seen it.
Yeah, he probably got a bill for, I don't know, $5, almost $6.
Dodd's saying $5.36 each way.
Well, see, he probably didn't have Easy Pass. And just like here in Maryland, I went across the bridge yesterday to go to the VFW. Now I pay them $20 a year to go across that bridge as many times as I want. But I looked at the sign up there. If they have to mail you a picture of you because you don't have an Easy Pass, it's $12. If you have an Easy Pass and you don't have a bridge pass, it's $6.
I need to build a bridge. I need some passes.
And then I said, okay, because I cross that bridge a lot, I have them bill me $20 a year so I can, you go across it 2 or 3 times, you've paid for your $20.
Yeah, you have.
That's crazy.
And it's just like going where we came up 64 out of Virginia through the mountains to Charleston. It was $4.50 to go through to get into the twist and turn area and $4 to get out. So it was, $9. Because I looked at I was looking because I have it to where it's set on my Easy Pass. If I go below $10, it automatically hits my credit card for $25 to put into the account. And it's within a few cents of it. But I looked at this. I'm like, well, wait a minute now. It was $9 going up and $9 coming back in West Virginia. And then it's $2.85 and $2.85. I said, that was an oddball amount of money. Usually it's, even amounts, $1, $2, $4, $4.50, but yeah, they mailed him a bill and they probably sent him a picture, and he has to pay the full amount because takes more time to do all that. Yeah.
I remember when it wasn't that long ago that most of these toll places, you could throw the coins inside there. So like when we go down to Florida, we take the turnpike all the way down. I just takes a handful of change with me and you'd pass through and whoosh, throw the change in and take off. Right. Yeah. Now
around here,
it's like
the last 5 years, like this bridge I'm telling you about, you used to be able to go over there and they had a guy in a booth or a girl in a booth and you could give them the money. Or you had used to be there was a sticker on the side of your car. Of course, technology has gotten a lot better. And then here in the last couple of years, they put a thing across the road with all these cameras and all that stuff on there and sensors. And then they tore out all those little shacks, and they'll send you a picture.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of have a problem with toll roads, man. The amount of money that people pay for fuel nowadays and how much tax is built into it. I mean, I'm not going to go down that whole rabbit hole. I get it. Some people may agree with it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Here's something I had happen. So we would go down occasionally down to Chattanooga, Tennessee. And a lot of these little small towns like that, anywhere you go to park, you have to pay for parking like everywhere, which drives me absolutely insane. Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
Little town down there, really cool town. If you guys ever decide that you want to visit a place like that, it's a really cool little town. Small, I don't say city, it's a town. They got a lot of fun stuff to do there. But anyway, you got to pay everywhere. So when we were going to go to this restaurant one time in town, you move down the block, move a few blocks down and go somewhere else, you got to pay for parking again. Just absolutely irks me to have to pay to park my vehicle. But anyway, I don't typically live in city areas, so it's not typically have to pay that stuff. So
what really is bad
was at this location we went to, Melissa and the kids had gone inside and I'm actually at the outside at the little kiosk thing paying. Well, when I did it, I thought that it accepted my card and I went inside and didn't do anything more because again, I don't typically do have to pay for parking unless I go down to the city of St. Louis for a vet game and you hand them $20 or whatever it is and you're done. Well, I went inside and came back out, and I'll tell you what, man, just like clockwork, I come out and there's a ticket on my windshield. I'm like, what the heck is this? And I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So then I'm like, well, I just paid it. So I went online, my bank account, and I'm looking at the thing and I'm like, why is it not showing up? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, did I screw up or what did I do wrong? Apparently I didn't pay for it when I thought that I had. And I'm like, it's something like, I just throw it on the dash. I'm like, I'll deal with it later. Well, whenever we get home, I started looking at it a little bit closer, and I was kind of irked by it. You know what I mean? Just again, it wasn't that much of it on the ticket. It might have been like $10 or something, but I just was kind of miffed that I had to pay this thing. So anyway, the more I got to looking at it and the harder, because I tried calling in and was going to explain myself. No, you can't call in. They don't do that. They don't have a live operator for any of that sort of thing. It's all automated type stuff. So this stuff is pure profit for them. So then I got them looking at it even a little bit closer, and I'm like, that's not my license plate. So I walked out to Melissa's car and I looked at it and I'm like, that's not the right plates. And I'm like, yes, I've got them on a technicality. Okay. And so I send them back and I send back a rebuttal. I take a picture of her plate. I upload it, send it. I said, this ticket was on my car. It can't be mine because it's not even my plate. Boom, get a thing back. It was dismissed. So it kind of worked in my favor, right? But anyway.
Yeah. But, it's like I was over there at a resort area on the beach, and they even got T-shirts, welcome to the beach resort, and the guys, it shows the cop giving a parking ticket because they are all over it about parking.
How many of you guys like to see Charlie on the beach?
We may get our chance in 2027.
Oh, wow.
What about Charlie dancing on the beach, huh?
Hey, that's even better. Down there on the pier.
We could make some money on that.
Yeah, we could.
Oh, my.
Just got to make sure he's got a sign that says, I'm not drunk. I'm doing this for fun.
We could start him up his own webpage, at Sawmill Charlie's Dance, whatever, right? Rent him out.
Yeah.
What's an MBK meeting? JJ?
Master beekeeper meetings.
We can teach it though. For a fee of $19.99, you can learn how to beat the tolls, right?
Yeah.
But no, back to the original conversation. I think most clubs, I think it depends on the leadership. So there's one in south of where I'm at. I go to 3 or 4 different clubs.
You mean the one we're at?
Yeah, yeah. And the guy who used to be the president at that club, man, he was a fantastic president. That guy never talked about his own bees ever. And I went up to him one day and I said, can I ask you a question? He goes, sure, what? I said, do you have bees? And he goes, well, yeah, I have like 5 colonies. And he goes, why do you ask? I said, I have never heard you talk about your bees ever. Never. He goes, well, I'm not here to promote myself and my bees. I'm here to run a club. And this guy, he was very business oriented. He was high up, not quite a CEO, but he was pretty high up in a business and overseeing a lot of people. And he said, Rob, I learned a long time ago that, when I'm running a business and stuff, he said, I'm just there to manage, to make sure that things get done and in the best way I know how to do them. And he says, I know I'm not probably the best beekeeper. And he says, and I'm sure I could share my experience, but there's so many other people that have greater experience than me. So he said, I just make sure that we do what we're supposed to do as far as the club's concerned. We follow our bylaws and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And that guy brought in great speakers. And that club is actually broke into a 2-part. It's 6:30 to 7. They have a new beekeeper class for 30 minutes where they teach them something and allow the new beekeepers to ask questions and give them answers. And then the main club starts at 7. take care of some general business, and then they'll bring in, some kind of a science guy or something like that, and they talk. And while he was there as that president, I think it was the best club I was ever part of. Since then, it's under new leadership, and it's not as good as what it used to be. So I think a lot of that has to do with who's running it, who's willing to be in charge of it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've noticed is when you get to these clubs, of the clubs that you're part of, we'll just go with like the guys that are on the screen, the different clubs that you're actually attend their club meetings. Who is the biggest beekeeper at that club? Like how many colonies? Bill?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. There's these local clubs around here. It varies. There's some people that have 2 hives, some people that have 25 or 30.
Yeah.
And there's more 25 or 30s than there is 2s.
Yeah. But you probably don't have guys that are running 100 and 200. And if you do, it's one guy, right?
It would be one person.
It would be one person. And
Yep.
that's where I am. Everywhere I go, I am the biggest beekeeper in the room. And I don't present myself that way. I just go in and sit down and learn. And a lot of times people will defer questions my way because they know who I am. But I try not to interject if I can help it. But I think that's what you're seeing is the guys who have really figured out like how to become good and large at beekeeping. They don't come because they feel like they get nothing out of it.
Yeah, I agree. With that.
They will go to ABF. They will go to some of the other stuff that's out there. And they'll tell you, that's the people they're going to learn from, people who have 2 and 3 colonies don't go to ABF. They don't go to the honey packers convention and stuff like that. They're not part of that group. I heard one commercial beekeeper when I was on the state Zoom call this past month. He believed that Nobby was just basically for toys and gadgets and called it a big yard sale for beekeepers. And I said, well, you do know. And I named some of the names of the speakers that were there, which are guys bigger than him, that run tens of thousands of colonies. So those were the guys that were there speaking. And then he got kind of quiet. And I said to him, look, I go there for education. I enjoy the quote, quote, yard sale. I said, but when you factor up what you spend for fuel, spend for meals, spend for motel, spend for ticket, I said, I didn't get no bargain, not unless I bought pallets and pallets of stuff. I said, there was no bargain to be had. When you add that, I said, it'd been easier for me just, if I wanted to get an extractor off a bill, just order from Bill and have it shipped to my house than to add all that extra expense, to go there to pick it up from Bill. It's neat to go and see that all the gadgets and things that are out there and talk to the people that, are selling it and make some money. So I think there's some advantage to that. But for me, I want to talk to the Charles Linders, the guys that are, overwintering sheds and things like that. And, Bob Binney, what did he say his business is worth? Like $3 million or $8 million, right? You could say he's a hobbyist, but the truth of the matter is he's not a hobbyist, right? He's
commercial.
He's extremely commercial and one of the most successful businessmen that I know in the bee world.
Yep.
Well, after we moved to Carolinas, he was out in California as a commercial pollinator.
Yeah.
He was in Oregon as well. He started in Oregon.
Yeah.
As a commercial pollinator.
Yeah. And he's smart. I mean, he's smart in everything that he does. And so, so I'm glad there's, 4,000 people that showed up there and those rooms for the most part were packed, right? You didn't see when the speakers were speaking. Yeah, there was some people still shopping, but for the most part, most of the people were in a session somewhere getting some knowledge, and that's an encouragement to me. And I think Cayman did a good job as far as giving a variety, depending on what you're looking to do with your beekeeping skill, whether you're looking for a medicinal type of thing or you want to grow, there was a lot to choose from. And, or if you want to, like say, you want to stay small and you just want to, what more can I do with my hives as far as, making candles and wax and those types of things. But yeah, it's just the whole club level it's difficult because it really depends on the people that are in the leadership. Some people are there and they think everyone should be a commercial beekeeper. I think everyone should be a commercial beekeeper, but they need to be, 200 miles from my business. And, I'm covered up with enough beekeepers as it is. So, but we're not going to have everyone have the mentality as us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like me saying to Tom, you need 16 kids, right? Or you're not going to be qualified to call yourself a good dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you could produce one child, that doesn't make you a good father, And when you turn out 16 good kids, that's what makes you a good dad. And that's not true. You could be a great dad and only have one child.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you could run one colony of bees and, put your best foot forward, learn what works, what doesn't work, and be successful. I would think just a piece of advice for people that are listening in, they don't have a whole lot of colonies. Don't grow faster than when your knowledge allows you to grow.
Agreed.
One of the biggest mistakes I see new beekeepers make is I went from 1 hive to 2 hives to 20 hives, and then they bit off more than they can chew, and then they start floundering, and they have this huge financial commitment, and it exceeds their ability to take care of them and be successful, and then they start floundering. And my bee inspector said to me, he said, Rob, I was working another job plus running my colonies that I was running. At that point, I was running about 300. And he said to me, he says, you would be a better beekeeper at 200 colonies than what you are at 300. He says, because you could dedicate more time to it and your hives would look better. They would produce more honey per colony. He says, I honestly think that you could make more honey at 200 colonies than you can right now at 300. Just because you're always behind. Mm-hmm. And that's wisdom, that's somebody who came from a commercial operation and shifted into becoming an apiary inspector. And he was giving me his advice, and it was good advice. I can't tell you that he was wrong. I think he was right.
A lot of people would probably say I grew way too fast. I went from 4 to 7, then 7 to 53, then 53 to 100 and something. But I'm constantly learning. I don't take a lot of losses.
Yeah. Where are you located?
Southeast Louisiana, just north of Lake Pontchartrain.
Say Louisiana?
Yeah.
You move those bees up north, and you're going to lose a lot of bees.
Probably.
Yeah.
You're down there next to Mr. Ed, right?
Yeah, he's in between some of my yards. Actually, he goes to the same clubs. That's something I wanted to bring up about the whole club thing. So there's 2 clubs I go to regularly. Now one of them is starting to change a little bit, but when I first started, they were polar opposites. Like the one up in Franklinton, they would talk about treatments and stuff, and the one down here in Abita, it was very anti-treatment. The club president is a treatment-free guy. Didn't believe it, would talk down on treatments all the time, talked about like how you can't tell him that OAV is okay for the bees when you have to put on all this protective gear and stuff. Now we have a new president who is trying to open people's eyes to the whole treatment thing, but I can't believe how some people are so against it, and I just don't understand it. And I look around the room and I see all these people that are buying bees every year. Like,
what's their address?
I'm not saying that the old president did this on purpose, but he supplied the club with nukes.
Right.
Oh, ironic. How is that? Yeah.
But I mean, he's a good he's a good beekeeper. He has good bees, and he is treatment free. But it took him a long time to get there. You know, he'll tell you if you talk to him, he lost a lot of bees for a lot of years early before he got to where he could have a lot of bees and be treatment free. But he kind of preaches the whole "I don't treat my bees" to all these newer beekeepers, and most people can't get away with just not treating at all.
I've suggested to people before that I don't usually push one direction or another, even though we don't really in our club, preach the treatment free thing. What I've told people before is if you want to be treatment free, I think that's fine. But what I would probably do is I would probably start with treating as needed, but you need to keep very, very close mite counts on those and see what that looks like. Because once you get past that point of no return on a colony, it's a walking dead, right? So, and then you can start breeding from your best from that point and then work toward it. I would suggest that probably it's a plan to move forward to. If you can get to that point, I think that's great. I've said this before, there's not a single one of us in this chat, whether they're in the comment section or right here, that wants to spend one dime on a tool or a treatment option at all. We don't want to do it. It doesn't, but the reality is it's what's keeping these bees alive. Is it the right way? I mean, I'm not the guy to answer that question really, but the alternative is Rob's not going to take an investment of 200 or 300 colonies and then just stop treating cold turkey and be like, well, we'll just see what happens. And you know what? I'm just going to breed from the best. Well, I mean, anybody in business would tell you that's pretty gutsy and fairly reckless. I mean, unless you have a pretty big bank account or a trust, maybe Rob's got a trust fund. I don't know,
well, if you want to know about that, talk to Michael at 21st Bees because he is treatment free.
Yeah.
But he'll tell you right off the bat. He said it took him 10 years
to get to that point.
To get to that point.
Is it West Virginia who will pay you for your dead colonies so that you buy more bees so you can start all over? I think. I
don't know. I know the USDA, but USDA is kind of funny in the ELAC program because if you die out due to varroa, you're not going to get anything.
No, I think this is just a West Virginia state thing.
Yeah.
Like if you're a beekeeper in West Virginia and your colonies die and you buy more, you turn that receipt in, they will pay you for those bees if you're a resident of the state. And so, those guys, oh my God, I almost want to move just for that reason. I mean, that they could pay out and dead bees buy a house, and it's insane. But
yeah,
but you're exactly right, Tom. It's huge. I had that situation here. The one club we were part of, the folks that ran the club, they were big treatment-free beekeepers, and well, they're no longer beekeepers.
Yeah.
Well, ask Jeff Thomas. He lives in Hurricane, West Virginia. He's on here tonight. Jeff, can you give us the answer to that? Whether or not you get freebies from the state? So
I think there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat. I have never used any synthetic treatments. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. Do I have losses? Yes. Are they acceptable for me? Yeah. So I mean, it's just something I chose to do. I mean, somebody could even probably, just continue to make brood breaks. That would probably be a fairly, I haven't tried it, so I don't know for a fact, would probably be a fairly, I mean, that is part of an IPM method, doing brood breaks, interrupting the brood cycles. I mean, that's something that somebody can do. So, I mean, you could even ask the question, what is a treatment? Is an IPM, a mechanical IPM, is that a treatment?
It could be. It could be considered a treatment. So
sure.
Eddie, another good one for you to talk to, and you can go on his Facebook page and his website and send him a message, is Sourwood Farms.
Oh yeah, I'm very familiar with him.
Yeah. So talk to him. It took him. Yeah, it took him a long time to get where he's at.
Yeah, I'm trying to do pretty much the same thing he's doing. I'm way newer at it.
If you listen to Ryan on his videos, which is Sourwood Farm, you're back to the same thing, knowledge base.
Yeah.
He's went deep into all that, just like what Eddie's here asking about the drones and all this other stuff. He has dived into that queen rearing and how to breed, and talks about Magic Mountain Bee, which was a bee yard out in the middle of nowhere, as far as I so he's ankle deep or knee deep into all that statistics and stuff.
The making the queens is what I fell in love with the most right away.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's my favorite part of beekeeping.
Yeah.
And it's always nice.
I think it's a
have an
skill.
unlimited amount of queens on hand too.
It's because it's right up there like making babies.
Well, being a queen rearing, it's a skill that to me, it's a game between you and the bees. If you get 28 out of 30, you won the game, but if you only get 5 out of 30, you lost.
Yeah.
Because your skill set was lousy.
Yeah. So anybody that's interested, queen rearing class is going to be May 9th and 10th here in Woodstock. I will attempt this year again to record it, or have videos from the class. But if you're interested, it will be that weekend. It's a 2-day class.
You did that this last year, correct?
Yes.
I think it was about the same time, right?
It was earlier last year.
Do you go into I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And it was cold. So we start with a cell builder.
That's my question.
And we go from there.
I think the cell builder is the most important part. And I think that's what most people leave out when they're
absolutely
how to do it.
That's absolutely the biggest thing that is left out of a queen rearing class is how to build a cell builder and physically get the class out there and do it. This is a hands-on class. It is not 100% classroom. You will put together a cell builder. You will see how it's done. If you don't want to get your hands in it, that's fine. But if you want to get your hands in it, you will be participating in putting together that cell builder. And we will be grafting the next day. And we'll be putting your grafts in those cell builders to be able to see what takes and what comes back mated.
Yep, that's it.
So it's going to happen.
Yeah, because I trying to get that knowledge. Eddie is most, if they talk about queen ring, and all they talk about is grafting.
Yeah. That's the easiest.
Or back in 10 years ago, you don't want to graft because it's hard to see and this and every excuse you could think of why you don't want to graft. Because I don't think they could graft is what it amounted to.
Yep.
And then, like I say, for me, I learned how to graft through Kenton Williams years ago, and then finally got the gist of, like you say, going to Bill's class last year is about setting that cell builder up and understanding that, you set the cell builder up 7 to 10 days prior to what you want to do and all that stuff.
Yep.
See, I don't do, I've tried a lot of different ways, and I've kind of settled on a sort of a modified cloak board, but I still try other things too, just to see. But I've had a lot of success with the cloak board thing, but I don't do it. I don't think the way you're supposed to do it. I fill it with so many bees with queen in the bottom, and then every week when I graft back into it, I go back in, find the queen, and I shake every bee except for the frame that has the queen on it back into the top box, and just leave her in the bottom box with the frame she has on it. And I have so many bees in that hive. It's ridiculous. I can barely get the lid on with an 1.5 inch spacer. So many bees, but I mean, I get 40 plus cells every time I graft.
You'll be Charlie this year if you come to the queen ring class, because thanks to Rob, I had enough population last year in those cell builders, and I'm probably going to do the same thing again this year, Rob.
Okay.
With those packages.
Yep.
And that way I know we have enough population in them to do them. I'm not a troublemaker, Tom. Or was that Melissa that typed that?
No, not you, JW.
Oh. Yeah,
He said
he's welcome to any
he's
class.
always welcome to any class. I said, Bill, he's a troublemaker.
That's okay. I know what to do with troublemakers.
Get out the ruler.
I put them to work in the bee yard.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm assuming all of y'all graft, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I listened to Corey Stevens one day talk about I think it was either Corey Stevens or Frank Rinkovich. I can't remember which one. Talk about how the queen pheromone isn't just passed among the workers and stuff. That she leaves some on the frames when she's walking around, and that just a frame that had her on it recently can cause problems, and they can think that they still have a queen. I have not experienced that. Like I move frames right away. I mean, I make it queenless. I graft into it 5-10 minutes after I've made it, and the next week when I'm doing it again, I do the same thing. I'm moving cat brood up, and I'm leaving her down there, shaking everything at the top, moving frames all over the place, and I get great takes. And I was just wondering if y'all ever experienced that or know anything about why they would say that.
You mean you're pulling a brood frame out of another hive because she walked on that frame that they might not do the cells or something?
Well, they were saying that if I'm pulling frames from the bottom where she is, because she's under the board, the top, that can suppress them making the queen cells. But that's not been my experience at all.
Are you putting your cells in a queen right colony?
Yeah. She's in the bottom box below an excluder.
And
So there's a
that's
board on the top.
and that's where you're putting your grass.
Yeah, I put my grass in the top. And
Okay.
almost all the bees are in the top.
But
Yes.
you also have a cloak board, so you cut that pheromone.
Right. I cut the pheromone off. I mean, it's only cut off for. I mean, when I redo it each week, I put the little spacer thing in there, and move almost all the bees up except for the frame that has her on it. I leave those, but I shake every other bee back into that top box again, and then put it on top, and it's divided, and I graft into it right then and there. The next morning, I come and pull the cloak board out, I mean the divider out.
Okay.
Great.
already
So
started drawing
have you ever used a double screen board instead of a cloak board?
I have not. I'm sure it worked pretty much the same.
And actually, you're more successful with a double screen board than you are a cloak board.
Okay. But I mean, I get really pretty good take. I don't get 100%. One time ever, I got 100%.
Well, nobody does, I don't think.
Nobody gets 100%, but your take rate will go up higher with double screen board than it does with a cloak board.
So let me ask you this, and this may be a silly
I've done it
question.
both ways.
I've heard that term cloak board and double screen board used ambidextrously, and maybe that's not the correct way. Can somebody explain to me what the true difference between a cloak board and a double screen board is, or what the differences are, rather?
The cloak board has a queen excluder between the two boxes.
Yeah.
But when you put a divider in there to cut off where no bees can go through it to make them queenless, but then you pull that out and everybody but the queen can go back and forth between the boxes.
Hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. Say that again. I didn't follow.
So instead of a double screen board, you've just got a queen excluder between the two boxes. But a queen excluder has a spacer that you can slide a board in there to stop bees from being able to go through it. And then that makes them queenless. Then pull it out the next day and bees can go back and forth, but the queen can't.
Okay, so you're completely cutting off every worker from passing between the bottom and the top.
You're
with the
putting
Yep.
a metal shim through there.
I see.
A slider, I guess you'd call it.
Okay.
And what that does is it stops the bees from going through, but also they can't pass the pheromones from antenna to antenna. So
Foot to
the
foot.
two boxes are totally separated.
Right.
Okay.
And the double screen board, because you got that gap in there where the double screen, then they can't touch each other to pass pheromones. But the heat,
that's all I use is a double screen board. So I just haven't used the cloak board.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what the defining difference is with that.
Trust me, over the years, I've used probably every method of cell builder out there, and the one that has worked the best for us is the double screen board.
So if I'm thinking out loud, I've never used a cloak board, so I can't speak anything negative toward it. But and I did decide to go with and built, I mean, a lot of double screen boards on 3/4 inch plywood. But the reason that I would have, and I still like that route over a cloak board, is especially the more hives you have, you want to have the least amount of equipment possible, or a piece of equipment that you can use for multiple different methods, I guess is what I'm looking for.
Right there.
And the double screen board, I can do that. So like I can take and just split a box, double box. Don't care where the queen's at. Throw a in the springtime when I know there's plenty of resources in both boxes, mind you. Throw a double screen board in there, reverse it the other way, and walk away from it. And I mean, unless something goes wrong, they're going to make their own queen in there, right? Wherever she's at, the opposite box is going to do that. Now, that might be more of a crude method to do that, and I don't, but you absolutely can do that. I would also use it to overwinter a weak colony or weaker colonies. So now I get two uses out of the same tool. So that's kind of the way I would look at it in that regard. If you're doing it on a small scale, it may not really matter to you if it's a method that you choose or works well for you. I found that it seems like most of the time, and maybe I'm kind of doing this right now myself, but people use one method or it works for them, and the next thing they're like, this is the only way to do it. There's no other way that's better than this. And it's like, well, have you tried this? And it's like, no. And it's like, well, you really can't say, I guess, but we tend to do that a lot, with each other on things. So like I said, I really can't throw rocks at the cloak board. I never used it. But again, the reason I do like the double screen is I know I have at least two uses for it. So it's one piece of equipment that I have two uses for. So I've heard that used a lot, the cloak board.
That's like the cloak board is a lot more work than a double screen board.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I built a bunch of them last year, and I got used to it, and it works really well for me. I still do queenless starters here and there, and I was all about queenless starters 2 years ago. I thought that was the only way to go, but then I started having a lot more issues with getting the queen right litter. You can only get so many rounds out of them, and then for some reason they don't requeen as easy because I guess maybe they're getting more angry or something. Where with the
queenless cell builder.
Yeah, like I'd take a double deep and just pull the queen out, add a whole bunch of bees, and graft into it, and that works great. But when I'm done making queens and I go to requeen it, for some reason, that hive was always a lot harder for me to requeen. And I got sick of that. I'm like, I'm gonna try something else, and learned about the cloak board thing, and then kind of modified the way.
I mean, that's what I use. Is I use a nuke, but it's a double. It's a queenless nuke cell builder, and I'm like where you're at. That's what I'm used to, and I understand how to set it up. Whereas if I using a double screen board, that would be a different. Obviously, there might be some different techniques to go along with that to set it up properly. I'd have to look. I'm the visual learner. You show me it, then I understand it. So
the thing that we've had, little nugget here, the thing that we've had most success with is before Easy Peasy came out with those cages, we had the curler cages. We have never used an incubator. We would always take that cage and slip the curler or the easy peasy cage up over the cell. She hatches right in that cage. When she comes out, she's hungry. They feed her. They take care of her. We go back in a couple of days or 3 days after they were supposed to have mated or emerged. See how many's emerged. We pull the queens at that point, put them in the mating nuke, and let them get mated. So we don't have to worry about the timing or having to be there at that incubator at a certain time to catch those queens coming out to put them in cages. They're hatching in the cell builder right into the cages.
Yeah, I'm going to try that this year. I use an incubator. I'm still going to use an incubator, but I'm going to put them in some special frames with the roller cages that they can emerge into. It'll be another. Pretty much.
It'll be a banking frame, is what you're going to use that again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I do that same thing. I don't like the webbing problem that you get leaving them in a queenless cell builder. So I take the cells out, put them in the incubator, and then within, let's say, 2 days of hatching, I put them back. This past year, I put them back into the cell builder, let them hatch in there, and let them get fed, because you'll lose them in the incubator, not getting there early enough because they're hatching food-wise. The problem I had this year was trying to get them mated, where if you leave them for 7 days in that cage, then they're mature, but then they didn't seem like they want to get accepted. I did mark them. I don't know whether that made a problem or not. Or should I just put them in like the day after they emerge and let them walk into a mating box?
Right.
I don't know.
Rob, do you do a lot of grafting yourself?
What's that?
Rob?
Repeat.
Is asking Rob the question?
Oh yeah,
You do?
yeah.
What's your
I graft about 45 cells every other day for weeks, and I use a starter finisher colony. And then I move the cells 24 hours before they hatch into queenless nukes.
Oh, okay.
So you're dropping cells in the
Dropping
mating
cells.
box.
Yeah.
And
Now,
4 or 5 years ago, that's what I was doing, and I had much more better success doing that, getting them mated. Why? I don't know.
I think it's better when the cells emerge in the mating nuke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty easy acceptance.
You're right. It is. So,
Timing things doesn't always work for giving them to other people.
all right. So it's 10:30, and it's been a great discussion tonight. I think we all made some people think. We had, got the chat fired up, which was kind of the goal.
Hey, Bill, I have one thought, if I can drop it in.
Sure.
We talk a little bit about as clubs, and we'd like to see this or we'd like to see that, maybe participants in there. The one thing that I would like to point out to people, and sometimes this might be overlooked, if you're not on the board of a club and you want to see your club doing something, and maybe for whatever reason they don't because they're short-staffed, be that guy. Be that guy that steps up and says, hey, how can you use me? I'd like to see if I can implement this as a committee or something like that. Very rarely do we get people that'll complain about something, but if they do, my go-to is, hey, you know what? That's a great idea. I'd love for you to head that.
Yeah.
You're going to do one of two things.
Yes.
The person's going to be so proactive. They're going to be like, absolutely. And then you've gained another volunteer, or you're going to completely shut down the passive aggressive technique, whatever it might be. So I would just suggest to people that if you want to see your club doing something better, be that guy to step up.
Yeah.
We really try to pour a lot into what it is that we do as a club, but we can only do so much. The more things that you add to it, the more people you need on board. And I don't think that it's realistic to say that just a board of, 8 people or 9 people can fulfill so many different tasks because everybody else has a life too. So I don't know. I just thought that might be helpful, for somebody. Be that guy to step up and fill that gap and help the club out too. So
Yeah, and what I used to tell people from the state, when I was president of the state of Virginia, if you bring a problem,
bring a solution.
Bring a solution.
Absolutely. Agree with that 100%.
Yep.
110%.
Yep. So thanks everybody for indulging me tonight and let me get everybody to engage and think about things and comment, and everything was taken, professionally, and nobody was looked down on. So I think it was a great chat tonight. So I appreciate all the comments. If you like tonight's chat, hit that like button. Don't forget. Mike says Easy Ox got 4 grams for EPA approval. So that's great. Good job, Mike.
And Mike also has 5-pound buckets of oxalic acid too. You don't have to buy the 400-gram packs anymore.
Yep.
Hit them up.
5-pound buckets.
They're a good deal too, by the way.
And he's working on getting extended release pads approved too.
Yeah,
that'll be
later this year.
JW, if you want to get in the green room, now's your chance. So I'm going to end the chat, and I will see everybody Friday night with Charlie. And this is the week for Todd's late night, right? Or is that next week?
That was last week, I think.
Okay.
That was last week. So
everybody have a great week. Wintertime is going to be hanging around for 6 more weeks due to the little road in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Good night.